So here is this is a setup, right? Basically, this is so we need to know about these tool before, right? What is Kafka, Spark, Airflow, Docker, okay? Because this is a pipeline tool, okay? This is the example for the end-to-end pipeline using the containers, okay? So first of all, like what is container, right? When we say virtualization and containerization, so what is the difference, right? So whatever we do generally in the virtual box or Ubuntu, like we are doing the setup, right? We install everything manually, right? So that is called virtualization, right? We are setting up our infrastructure manually, okay? So everything when we are doing manually, that is virtualization, right? So we are separate installation we are doing. We are doing the installation for Airflow, like okay, Kafka, Spark, right? That way we do. But here Docker is basically providing the containerizations, like it will be is setting up the containers, right? And each and every container is a lightweight, and it's no need of any host, right? Because virtualization we need some host operating system, right? Okay, but containers, as many as containers you can add up. Okay, you can add containers. So and containers like can communicate, right? Like you have one container is for one service you are running, so that you have to provide a intercommunication, right? Intercommunication between the containers, okay? So here when we are going to start this example, so this one is basically some fake API is there. We are generating some data, and that data we are going to publish on Kafka, okay? And the job is scheduled by the Airflow, okay? So Airflow is here the orchestration tool, right? Airflow is like a workflow orchestration tool, and which is having a DAG. Okay, I will show the DAG file, everything. So we have one Python DAG script, and which is orchestrated by Airflow and run one code, right? Python code. Okay. And then it will be writing the data to the Kafka topic. So we are reading data from APIs. Okay. You can take it any API, like any weather API or any custom API, any REST API, you can expose data. And this Python script is consuming the data from the API. Okay. I will show that APIs. So here are the two things, right? One is this entire configuration we are doing. This is we are doing in the containers, right? So I told you without container we can do its flexibility is there, right? If you want to do without container, you have to install everything manually. You have to set up the infrastructure, right? So if you don't want to do manual setup, right, everything manually install one by one, right, that would take time. Okay, so Docker is providing a containerization way. So there are the Docker Hub repository. There are the images are there. Okay, Docker Hub repository. So when you have a Docker Hub repository is a container repository. Okay. So this Docker Hub repository, all the containers, right, official images, right, are there, right? So initially it will not be container. Here is when you're pulling the image in your local, then it will become container. Okay. So here in the Docker Hub, right, when you're searching that you will find right? Like I want to search Kafka. Okay. So Kafka, there are so many different images are there. Okay. Whichever image you want to pull, you go inside this and there is a command. Okay. But before using Docker, you need to install Docker. Okay. You have to set up Docker in your Ubuntu, right? So you have to set up Docker. So there is a Docker installation steps are there. So Docker installation steps in Ubuntu, right? So you will be setting up the Docker in your Ubuntu, all right? So that Docker will be enabled, and then you can use the Docker service, right? And there is one more service is there, Docker Compose, right? So Docker is basically providing a configuration for a Docker file, right? Okay, you are creating an image first, okay? So when you are creating an image first, so you have to create a Docker file, okay? So suppose here, once you install Docker, you are you are like creating an image, or you can pull the image, anything you can do. If you want to create an image locally, right, so you have to Docker build command you have to do to build an image locally. Okay, So once you build, right, there is a Docker build command to build an image. But before building a Docker build command, so you should have one Docker file. So Docker file, what is a Docker file? Okay. So Docker file is instructions, right? There are the instructions defined in the Docker file. And that Docker file, me go through a little bit Docker. Okay. So here, when we come, like first we have done the installation part. Even you can install Docker in Windows also. Like there is a Docker window desktop is there. So through the wizard, you can install this one, and it will be coming as a tool, right, in your Windows. Okay. But if you are installing in the Ubuntu, so you have to follow these steps, right? Docker installation steps. Okay, so these steps you have to package repository. You guys know, right? In Ubuntu we use package, right? Apt get install repository. So we have to install like this way. Okay, so once your Docker is ready, right, and Docker Hub repository, you can create account. What is the advantage on the Docker Hub, right? Because sometimes you have created some image and you push the image to the Docker Hub repository. Okay. And Docker Hub repository, once you push the image, so other person can pull your image, like this Docker Hub I showed you. Okay, repository. So in Docker Hub repository, I can create my custom image by using a Docker file. Docker file is what? Docker file is an instruction file, which is okay. Let me show you one Docker file, like how to create a Docker. So this is a Docker file. So Docker file, you have a suppose some code is there. Okay. I have a Python code or Java code, any type of any programming language code is there. So you write an instruction in the Docker file, what you want to do. Okay. So you are telling here, I want this Golang language. Or if I want to have a Python, so Python I will install, right? So definitely you need that language, right? Because suppose my application is a Golang application. So I need a Golang, like Golang language I need. Okay, if I want to have some Python application, I need a Python. I will download Python. Okay, if I want to run an application in Java, I have to from Java JDK I will download. Okay, then I will create a directory, one working directory I will create. I will copy command like I will be using, and then I will be doing the build command. So Docker, this build command we are using to create an image. Okay, so once my image is created, so there the two options are there. You can create a container or you can create you can push the image to the Docker Hub. So other place, someone pull the image and then they will use Docker run command. So Docker run command, you will get your container. Okay. So when you are installing the Docker, you have Docker sudo docker ps. So sudo docker ps. So sudo I'm using for a root permission. So here, these are my already containers are there. Okay. So and it is showing container for which image. If I do sudo do docker images, Docker images. So it will be telling me how many list in my system is there. Okay. So these many images are there. Okay. Some images are very pretty old, right? Some are very recent, right? Okay. And how many containers are running for these images, right? So this is showing container ID. So container ID is a unique ID is created. And whenever you want to apply any Docker command, you can use this container ID. Suppose I want to delete this container. I want to check the log of this container. If I want to check of this container, every command with the container you will use. You will use sudo docker logs and then you give the container ID. So container ID will be like it will be showing the log of the container, right? If any issue is there or any like you want to debug the error. Okay. So when you come here and take it any container ID. Okay. So I'm getting a log. So I'm good. Okay. So I have already made a list of all Docker commands. So Docker commands are there are many more Docker commands are there. So Docker pull command is there. Okay, to pull the image. Okay, let's see this. So Docker theoretically, if you understand first, so that you have to understand what is the purpose of the Docker, right? Docker is basically managing the containers, images, volume, network. So you are creating your own infrastructure environment, and you don't need to set up every time from the scratch, because once this image is stored in the Docker Hub repository, you can pull the image and you can get the same environment that someone already has. Suppose I say I have created some environment my local machine, okay? And when I want to ask you, right, okay, can you do the same environment? You will do manually setup, right? But if I create a image for my environment and I push in the Docker Hub, what you will do? You will take it from the Docker Hub and then you will get a same as it is environment. Okay. So Docker is basically giving you flexibility, or it is like rewriting effort. Okay. It reducing. So first command like Docker run command is like basically we can run the container. So we have to give the image name. So there are the many options are there with the run, right? You can give, if you don't give minus minus name option, it will take it default name. Okay. But if you are giving some customized name, right? So minus minus name parameter you can, and you can tell the your container where you want to run some host port container, right? So a specific host port you can specify, an image you can give. Okay. Suppose I want to see all the container list, how many containers are running. So when I do docker ps command, so it will be giving me running container. Okay. When I do sudo docker ps, so it is giving me running container. If I do sudo docker ps minus a, so it will be giving me running or non-running container all, right? So you can see some of the containers are failed. Like this container is exit, this container is exit, right? So these some containers got exited, okay? Because of some error, right? Because when I'm making up, I'm setting up my container, right? So maybe some configuration issues come and then your container exit, okay? So whatever script you are using for like whatever Docker file you using for that container, maybe there is some configuration issue, because of that your container is exit, or sometime port conflict come. Okay. So when I started, so here in my this example, when I have a Docker compose file, okay. So here is I have, so this is a Docker compose. So what is the difference between the Docker compose and Docker compose YML? Docker compose, Docker compose and Docker file. Docker file is only for one container at a time. But suppose I say I want 10 containers together. Okay. So then you cannot use, so you need a 10 Docker files and you will be running manually 10 Docker file, right? So better is like you can keep it same configuration you can define here in the Docker compose. The Docker compose is making it your all containers can be ready in together. Okay. So here, suppose my one container is Airflow. I know I want to get official image of Airflow, but Airflow needs some PostgreSDB for storing its metadata, right? Airflow is depend on the web server, right? Because Airflow UI is the web server. Can you see here? This is the Airflow web server UI. Okay. So this Airflow web server UI, this Airflow web server UI is the user interface where you can monitor your job, right? Okay. And this Airflow web server is depend on Airflow DB, because the metadata, this Airflow web server UI is keeping a metadata in the Airflow DB, like Airflow username or Airflow other scheduler information, everything that is keeping in the DB. And it is using some other environment parameter, right? These environment parameter like how many executors, airflow. This is some, because it's a Postgres, so it's a Postgres connector is there. Okay, URL connector is there. Okay, so and what is a Docker volume? So there are the some concept are there, Docker volume, Docker networking, right? So this all comes in the Docker tutorial. Okay, so when we come start with the Docker hub, I told you it's a repository which is containing the Docker images. What is image? Image is a individual element, right? Like when you are building some code by your Docker file, okay, and then you are getting an image, right? So Docker image is independent component, right, where you can create a Docker container or you can store this image in some repository. Okay, so Docker image has the different component, like is it is inherited some base image, like suppose CentOS, Ubuntu, Debian. So image can be inherited from any other base image. Okay, it has a Docker file, image registry, tagging, right? So these are the parameters, right, for defining the Docker image. Okay, so if we want to, some Docker commands are there, image commands. So if I want to see, suppose I have pulled the image and I want to immediately see how many images are there, right? So Docker images is a command to see the list of image. If I want to see something like, if you want to display the image ID, okay, Docker lsq. Okay, so the image has its own ID and container having its own ID. Okay, so when you are pulling any Docker image, so like Docker pull command, the image will come in your local machine. So even image can be anything. It can be a Ubuntu image, it can be a JDK image, it can be a CentOS image, anything. It's a lightweight container. Okay, so if you want to say you want to set up a Ubuntu inside your Ubuntu, right, as an image, so you can pull a Docker image for Ubuntu. Okay, and you have a Docker file, right? So what you want to use, right? Docker file, the instructions. So you are defining your instruction, and CMD command is running your application in your container. So once your container will be up, right, you want to run an image. Okay, so first you are building a like Docker build command, and Docker build command, there you are giving tag, right, which is this image is the latest image. Okay, and this is an application name, and dot is basically referring the current directory. So wherever you are doing the Docker build command, the Docker file should be there in the same directory. Otherwise, and Docker file naming convention is D capital F small, right? This is a naming convention. Okay. Otherwise, if you are giving us some different name, so you have to tell the Docker file name. Okay. Otherwise, it will take it default. Okay. So here, once this image is created, okay, and if you want to change the tag, right, some version, right, you can specify. Okay. And if you want to push this image in Docker Hub, so Docker push command you can use, but before that you have to do Docker login, because Docker login can allow to log in into the, so how to do login in the system, right, in the Docker Hub repository. So Docker login. So it is asking my username. I don't remember the password. Login succeeded. Okay. So so I logged in my, now I can push the image. Okay. Any image I can push. Okay. So suppose this one I use. Okay. See this. Yeah, I created a Docker file. I changed the port because 8080 port is on. This error can be fixed, right? If I give the ch mode permission now on this file, it will be fixed. Okay, so let me fix it because sudo ch mode because it is not getting the permission on. Okay, now it will not come. Yeah. Okay. So okay, so this is the latest image, my app. And now I'm going to use push command, okay, to push this image in my Docker Hub, okay. I already logged in, so I'm pushing. So here my repo is, I have to give my user ID, okay, okay, my Docker Hub repository user ID, okay. So my Docker Hub repository user ID is. Oh, okay, okay, okay. Actually, I created by my repo way. So I have to again so Docker so I have to tag it. Whatever I give in here, I have to give same. Okay. So now let's see my Docker Hub repository, my app, right? Okay. So this is my repository. Okay, I have to log in here also. Okay. Can you see my app came, right? So now I have pushed the image. Okay. Suppose some other person who is going to pull this image. So which command he will use? He will use this Docker pull, right? And tag name. So tag name is v1.20 version is there. So Docker pull command, this is the way like how to create an image and how to define a tag and push. Okay. So then you can do. So okay. So pruning Docker images, like suppose sometimes you don't want to keep it, lot many Docker images are there. I want to delete all the one. So that is called pruning, right? So you can remove all the Docker images. Okay. Docker image history, you want to see what are the changes happen, right? So you can see your image name and this. Okay, so you can see this all, right? What are the steps you done? Inspect is very important command. Like you can see the entire Docker image you can inspect. Okay, so if you have the image name, you can run all the commands. If you have the Docker container, you can run the command there. Okay, so this is the inspect command, right? So you can see what are the things attached with this image. Okay, okay. So this is all. And suppose I want to delete all the Docker images at once. So whatever Docker image ls command, okay. So Docker image, I think Docker image ls or images, both are same. Docker images. Okay, both are same. Okay. So when you are doing Docker image and then after that you can pass it to the RMI. RMI is to remove delete the Docker. Okay. So whatever is list is there, all will be, you don't need to do one by one. Okay. So this is Docker images. Okay. Now we come to container. So Docker container is a runtime instance of the Docker image, right? So this can be created by instantiating the image. Docker container completely providing deployment management, right? So it's container. Container is like which can be shipped from one place to another place, right? Okay. And containers are the functions, right? As independent process, their file system, network interface, right? So it can be configured automatically wherever they are pulled, right? Okay. So isolation they provide. Okay. Docker engine, they're internally use, and portability, right? It can be portable, right? Right, from one system to another system, right? One environment to another environment. So what is the life cycle of the Docker? Like once your image is pushed into the Docker Hub, then another instance, right, which is pulling the image, another system is pulling image, and it will be starting, right? It will be doing the lot many life cycle steps are there, right? Like you can stop Docker, you can start, you can remove, you can start, okay? You can pause also. So there are the different states are there. These are the Docker lifecycle states, right? So created state is a stage, like first stage, like when it is initializing, right? And started state, running state, pause state, exist state, dead state, right? When it is completely stopped, okay? So it's a dead state. So container is Docker PS command, okay? So when you use running a Docker container, so once your container comes, so you can run on some like a host and port you can define, right, where you want to run the container. Container is already there, but you want to run the container. And there the two commands are there. One is a Docker run and one is a Docker exec command. Docker exec command is basically you want to enter in the container. You want to see inside the container. Okay, so that is called Docker exec command. Okay, so let me show you Docker es. So here, suppose I take it one like a Spark container. Okay, this is a Spark container, and so Docker exec container ID, then bin bash. So bin bash command why I'm giving, when it will enter in the container, it should be come like in the bash shell. Okay, so bash shell is there. Okay, even you can directly run any command without entering in the container. I mean, right now if I want to run my Spark submit command, I have to do inside the container. Okay, but suppose I say I don't want to go inside container and outside itself I can do, so you can run Docker exe and then you can run Spark submit from outside also with them. So here you can see the directories, right? Here the CD jars directory, where I have downloaded jars, and where is a Spark submit is there. So you can check Spark submit is version. So this is a Spark container. So definitely it will be Spark. Previous one is correct. So this is a Spark submit version is showing what version of the Spark you are using in this container. So this container, how these containers came, right? So if we see the Docker compose, I told you this is the one step is like you are doing with the Docker file to build the images and then creating a container. Other way is you are using this Docker compose. So Docker compose, you are defining the what are the containers you need, right? So you are defining the configuration for those container as a service. So like Airflow DB is for database for the Airflow. Airflow web server is for the user interface for the Airflow, right, as a web application. And Zookeeper is for Kafka, because Zookeeper used for the Kafka as a coordination service. So Kafka is the Zookeeper, right? So this is the Zookeeper configuration is there. Which port Zookeeper is running? 2121. So here are the, you can see two ports are there, internal port and external port. Internal port is container, within container. But suppose I want to run application outside in my Windows, right? My browser, right? So um, how can I access that? So that I have to define some external port. So here I'm using both are same, right? So if my port is already running, right? Suppose already my Zookeeper is running in my local Ubuntu, right? So it will give you a conflict, okay? So your external port you have to change, okay? So if you're changing your external port, then only you can run in the different port. Otherwise, you have to stop your service. So what type of issues can come, right, when you are setting up the errors, right? So one error can come, suppose already bind error will come. So this error you will get it. Whenever you are running your Docker Compose file, you will get a bind error. So bind error means already your port is bind, right? You cannot use the port in the, right, in the same browser you cannot use, right? Same environment you cannot use, okay? So one option is like you identify that port by using the ls of command. So this is the Linux command, and find the kill command, like you can pass the process ID and kill. And then again, you start your Docker Compose command to run your containers. Okay. So that's a one option. Second is you can change the port in your, whenever you are exposing the port, like new port, you can change here. So this is the external port. Okay. And this is a within container port. Container is fine because container is cannot be conflict. But when you are exposing your container port outside, so you can change it by Docker run command. So when the container will up, it will be pointing to the different port. Okay. So you don't need to you will not get the issue of the same port. Okay. So this is the second option to resolve this. Okay. Or right, you can stop the containers, right, and you can remove containers, and then you can restart your container. Okay. Or in the your Docker Compose file itself, you can change the port, right? So again, you second time you run your Docker Compose command, right? So you will get, right, no issue. Okay. So here you can change the port itself. Okay. So if you know, right, already this port is bind, right, in your local, right? So either you can stop your current local, like your environment port. Okay. You can stop that if you're not using locally, so you can stop it. Otherwise, you can change the port. Okay, here you can change. So Kafka is using the Kafka Zookeeper, Kafka broker. Kafka broker is nothing but Kafka server, right? So Kafka server, which is having a topic. Okay, and the topic is like publishing your messages, right? So some category type of messages you can publish by Kafka topic. So you can create a number of topics in the Kafka broker. So broker is nothing but your Kafka server. So it is a multi-broker system. So multi-broker system is like you are exposing the server instance in a different port. That's the way you are getting the different port you are exposing. That is the reason you can have in a same machine, like same container, you have a multiple instances of the broker is running. Okay. So one port you have taken 9092, 9093, 9094. Okay. And this is using Confluent Kafka. Confluent Kafka is a distribution of the Kafka, and it's a distribution vendor, right? Just like Cloudera is a distribution vendor, Hortonworks is a distribution vendor, IBM is a distribution vendor. So Kafka distribution vendor is a Confluent, and Confluent Kafka image we are using to set up our Kafka, right? Generally, if we want to set up in Kafka in Ubuntu, we use Kafka download and go here and download Kafka, Apache Kafka. This Apache Kafka is called Vanilla Kafka. Okay, so this Apache Kafka, this Apache Kafka is a vanilla Kafka. So this Kafka you go and here you go download. You have to download some tar file, Kafka download. Click on the download, and here you can go and download the Kafka. So this is the latest version of Kafka going on. So this is a vanilla Kafka, but there are some limitations in this Kafka. because some additional services, right, schema registry, okay, and like Kafka Connect, right, there are many different connectors are there. So you cannot use very like so many connectors you cannot use, like just some few connectors are by default providing, okay, like a S3 connector or some connectors which is connecting to different source and target, right? So you can use it. Okay, so vanilla Kafka is a Confluent Kafka, and this Confluent Kafka is used here, and this is taking all the dependency environment, right, of the Kafka. Kafka Connect, right? Kafka Connect I told to pull and push the email data, right, from one source to target. Okay, so it is, if you're using Kafka Confluent, right? So Confluent is the port is default port is 8083. Okay, and Kafka schema registry, its default port is 8081. And one is a Kafka UI, like user interface. You can see when your this container are running, then you will see your Kafka UI like this. So when I Kafka UI, so you can see my messages are coming. So what I did here, I go topic and created a new topic, add topic. When you click here, just give your topic name. So I created this topic, names topic, and this topic I defined the three partitions. And when I go here messages, so my messages are coming from the API. So I already told like this application is getting data from REST API, right? This is APIs. So when I run my Airflow DAG, which is pulling the messages, which is pulling the data from API and writing to the Kafka topic. And this Kafka topic is basically in the broker, and our another Spark consumer, right, which is a Spark streaming job, which is pulling data from this Kafka topic and writing data to the S3. So this very simple use case, but this all environment is driven inside the Docker. Okay. So this is a complete Docker compose file. Okay. And this is a Spark container. So a Spark container, you guys know, right? This is image, official image of the Spark. Okay. So this image. Okay. So it will pull the image from this and create a container by name this. Okay. So I'm saying image is this and container is this, and which port it should be exposed. And what is a Docker volume? Docker volume is like you have your code in your host operating system, right? So suppose I say here, I want to run my Spark code. So can you see like this is my Spark file, right? Which if I show you Spark processing. So this is my Spark code, which I want to run, right? But this file, how it will come inside the container? So it cannot come by copying manually, like you can use CP command, it will not come. So you have to use Docker volume. So Docker volume is basically a mapping of your container path with external directory. Okay. So my external directory in my outside my external directory. Okay. So here my external directory, like here my this file, same file is there, spark processing.py. So I will use one docker cp command. The docker cp command will copy, this docker cp command will copy your local system file to the container. So you have to tell which container, the container name, colon, you have to tell in the container path. So what you will see, your file will be in the same path, right? So here I'm saying like here I'm just copying, this file will be copied here. This is a one way. But Docker volume, what it does, this is a manually copy, right? Like, okay, you want to copy the file in a specific directory, use this command, you can copy, right? It's like a same like a WinSCP command. It's SCP command you use, right, to copy your file from local to any Linux server, right? But suppose I attach the Docker volume, suppose I did the same thing for the Airflow, right? So if I show you the Airflow one, Airflow DAX, I have created a one volume here. Okay. So here is some DAX folder. So here is like my outside directory name I'm giving DAX, and inside the container I'm saying this path. Okay. So when I go to my container, so here is my DAX folder. So whatever I keep it in this DAG folder, it will be shareable. Okay. So this DAG folder, if I go to this DAX folder, so I copied the file. I copied the file from here, like this two file. One this file and one is this Kafka streaming service.py. When I copy these two file in my DAX folder, these two file I copied in the DAG folder. So when I go in the Docker container of my Airflow, okay, so Docker PS. So my Docker exec minus it and my Docker container for my Airflow. This is the first one. So when I bin bash, okay, I come inside the container. So here is the DAX folder map. So what path I'm giving here? I'm giving path here opt airflow DAX. So if I do pwd, I'm in the same folder or not? opt airflow and cd DAX I do. I'm getting the same file. So when you don't need to use Docker CP. Other way, I can copy Docker CP command. This is the alternate, right? Docker CP is the alternate, but you can create a Docker volume. If you have created a Docker volume, so you don't need to copy manually. So Docker volume will map your local directory of your host environment, right, to the container directory. Okay. So that is the thing. So when you run, right now, how to start this application? So first thing is this GitHub repository we have to check out. Okay. We have to check out the GitHub repository. Okay. So when you check out the GitHub repository, and there is a command, docker compose command is there. So docker compose command to setting up. So where you will run this docker compose command, you have to run the docker compose command in the directory where you have the docker compose file. Okay. So when I come exit here, cd dot here is my docker compose. So whenever I want to run, so I will run my docker compose command. So Docker Compose. So this is, I'm just creating some network for the Docker streaming name. Okay. So my already containers are running. And one more thing is actually this command is like in the newer Docker version, right? They have changed, right? Instead of hyphen, you can use Docker space compose. File name is correct actually. File name, okay. File name I don't need to change. Actually, yeah, I have to change in the docker hyphen compose command to docker space compose. So see, now you can making it a container. So whatever issue I showed you, like your port conflict issue, that may come. So that I showed you how to resolve that. And one more issue may come, like your container is already used by like some other container is getting conflict with the same name. Okay. So that kind of thing is like you can first ps minus a, I told you. PS minus a is for if containers are not running, right? So container is having some issue. But right now, if I check this one, so if you are getting like this, right? If any container is not running, so in that case, you have to stop that container or remove the container and then you try again. Okay. Because if the container with the same name is already present, right? So it will not allow to create a new container with the same name. So different name you have to use. So this type of error you may get, right? So you are keep running different times, right? Same containers like a Spark with the, if name is same, so then it will cause a problem. Okay. Okay, so Docker PS command to come to know all the containers. So you have to open your this Kafka UI user interface, and here you keep it ready your Kafka topic, right? You create a Kafka topic. So same like once Kafka topic is created, so it is saying the same thing. You go and create a Kafka topic replication factor 3, and now start the airflow, right? This is the airflow, right? You are setting up, right? You are creating a user for airflow, like you want to access your airflow user interface. So you need a airflow user, right? So you are creating a airflow user. So this airflow user command, again, here you don't need to use hyphen. Okay. And the bash command, this bash command, they simply keep it airflow.sh command. So here they simply running a run command to your like a web server, right? Airflow web server, right? So once your web server is started, once your web server is started like this user interface, so already DAX folder, one DAC file is there, and this DAC file you can see. And when you click on this DAC file, when you click on the DAC file, you can see the DAC file code, you can see. And this DAC file code is, you are simply have Python operator. What is this Python operator? So Python operator is like you are a task, right? So Python task, you have to use Python operator. If you have, suppose shell script task, bash command, okay? So you use bash operator. If you have hive command to run, right? Hive script, hive operator. Okay, Spark submit operator is there. Okay, or bash is common, right? Something is in the bash command, you can run anything, right? Because you know, like any script you are running, right, in the bash, right? So you can run anything, right? Suppose you are going to run a scoop import command in the bash shell script, or you can run shell script itself, okay, or Spark submit command in the shell script. Anything you can run with the bash operator, okay. So here is a Python callable is using some Python function. Okay. So this Python callable is this function is inside this class, this file. So this class is having module. Module option is there in the Python, right? You can use any Python file. You can use the function of that Python file. Okay. So what I'm doing here, I'm triggering every minute, right? I'm triggering my DAG and I'm fetching the data from the API. And not API, Kafka. I'm getting the data from the Kafka. So if we see this code, what is this code? What Airflow is doing? So Airflow, this code is basically initiating the stream, right? Getting the data from the API and writing to the Kafka topic. Okay. So that is the Airflow part. Okay. So if you look at the code of, so total 3 files is there. One file is Airflow DAG file. And this Airflow DAG file is calling this, this is a streaming service. There is an initiate stream code is there. So initiate stream you can see here. So initiate stream is nothing but what is doing. It is creating a Kafka producer. So this is a Python code, right? Kafka Python code. Okay. And it is getting data from API, right? And writing to the Kafka topic. So publish to Kafka. Publish to Kafka, you go here. So it is producer. So Kafka has a 3 component: producer, consumer, and broker. So producer is produce, right, and writing on the topic, right? Producer is producer dot subscribe. Okay. So topic, you are telling which topic you want to send the data, and you are sending the JSON data. So if you see the data, if I click it, you can see this is the name data is coming, right? Okay. So this is the name data. This is the JSON data is coming. So the format of the data, it is sending as a JSON dump, right? It is sending. Okay. And it is the transformation part, because API, first, when you are getting a request.get URL, and my API is this API, you can check this API, how this API give the data. So when you click on this is the API generation, right? Okay. So this data you are getting, this API data is there. Okay. So this API data you are getting in your program, right? You are getting in a program, right? API endpoint. And then once you get, you are transforming data, right? You are name, title, whatever is this all data, and password you don't want to expose. So you are using encrypting the, zip code they are doing. So they are encrypting. And I think these methods are simple, like to publish to the Kafka, and delivery status finally, like where your message is published successfully or not. So when you check the Kafka container logs, Airflow logs, you will see this messages, because this is the Airflow job is running. And once this is done and your message is coming to the UI, Kafka UI here you can see. So Kafka UI is just the interface to show actual messages in the Kafka topic, right? But this Kafka UI is just showing you the user interface and you can see the messages from here. Otherwise, you can see through the Kafka consumer command, right? So consumer produce consumer console consumer command, you can see the message on the topic. Okay. So that is command line CLI command. You can use it. Okay. Okay. Next is you have to run a Spark code. So Spark code for running a Spark code. So we have to go to the Spark. So this all you understood, guys, right? So here is a Airflow scheduler I started. Okay. So inside the container I went. So when you run this command, it will go to the container and where you run the scheduler. Okay. So server is already running and you started the scheduler. So server and scheduler both are running. So your DAG is keep running. Okay. And here, after verifying your data on the Kafka UI, now you can copy your Spark processing Python file in the. So here I'm not using the volume. I'm just copying manually the file to the my Spark master container. Okay. In this particular path. Okay. Once I copy, I have downloaded some jar because the Spark Summit need some library jars is need like Kafka client, Spark SQL, right? So those I'm downloading. So I already downloaded this curl command is there. And then we are running a Spark Summit. Okay. So when you want to run a Spark Summit command in the container, so that will consume the data from Kafka topic. So once it's getting a data and writing data to the as a Parquet file in S3 bucket. So here, if you look at the Spark code, so this Spark code, what is doing, it is first starting from the main. So it is access key, secret key, right, broker address, right, and the topic name and bucket path. And the checkpointing directory is the directory where you can store your messages for cache crash and any failure happened. So it will be using the checkpointing directory. Okay, data checkpointing. And you are initializing the Spark session with access key, secret key. So conf parameter is there. So when you are creating a session, right? So you will be initializing your Spark session with the access key, secret key because you want to access your AWS account. And once you initialize your session, and then you are calling the first get streaming data frame. So you are going to read the data from the Kafka topic. So when you come to here, spark.read stream format Kafka, and you are specifying your server address and topic, okay, and then it is getting a data as a data frame. Once it gets a data frame, then second function you are calling transformation functions. So you are trying to do some transformations on your data, and finally you want to write the data to the bucket path. So you are specifying like you are when you are writing to the bucket, so data frame dot write stream Parquet file you are writing to the append mode. So when the data keep coming, it will be keep writing to the Parquet files in your bucket. Okay. And then finally you can get the your data. And these Parquet files, you can use any other system, right? Suppose you are having a glue job, right? So you can use a glue catalog, right? So you can do that. Okay. So here some issue is coming in the Spark side. Okay. I run Spark Submit. So till Airflow and Kafka topic, our data is published. So when we see the flow here, so our Airflow is job running and that is pulling the data and writing Kafka topic. And from Kafka topic, like a Spark is consuming. So this part is giving trouble, right? Some configuration issue. So I'll show you. Okay, so this is my Spark container. So when I'm using some version issues coming. So Spark Submit also we can call it through Airflow also because we have another DAG file we can write and we can call the Spark Submit operator. Okay, so that also we can do. But manually, if we can run, right, then we can make it scheduled, right? Because automation is not a problem. But first, initially, it should be keep running. Okay. So issue is coming here on this library things. Okay. The mismatch library is. So when I check this, like Scala is mismatching the version with Kafka. Even I changed the version of the Kafka. Scala is 2.12 because the current version and Spark version is 3.3.0. Okay. There is a verbose option is also there, right? You want to debugging things you want to do. So in your Spark submit command. So why I'm using minus minus package? Minus minus package is used for the this Kafka SQL connector, right? This Kafka Spark connector, right? So otherwise I can't use the Kafka streaming, right? Kafka I cannot read the data. So the Spark Kafka streaming integration use this package. Okay, so minus minus goes. So it is just showing debugging. So my libraries are these one. So I checked it, right? It's saying Kafka library should be supported 2.8, 2.8.1 with the Spark version 3.3. This is also 2.12. So Scala. So this error to recognize. But your scars might not be using Scala 2.12. If your Spark is built with the Scala 2.12, okay, we can check what is my Scala version, right? Okay, what Scala version is used while Docker Compose file, I can come to know, right? So here, while I set up the Spark container, right? So in the Spark container, so let's see Docker Compose file. So my Spark container have not specified. So this Spark is using this image. So it's a built-in image now. So this could be using by default 2.13 version. Okay, how to I can start my Spark shell here. It will tell me what is the Scala version I'm using. It is 2.12. So Scala version is good. That is not a problem. 2.12. If I so 2.12.15, right? So Scala version is fine. So hmm, So show, so we tried this also. Validate Kafka compatibility. So Kafka client library is 2.8.1. So if I check it, all these libraries are there. Scala library. So in the jar folder, I have all. So I can check it. This is there. Kafka client is there. So this one I'm using through minus minus package. But I'm not using this 2.30. Point 12. So take it this jar path. Okay. Okay, wget command will not work. We can take it outside and then we can use docker cp command. Okay, so okay, docker cp spark. Okay, and my spark master opt. What is my path? Okay, so now I remove this jar. Okay. Yes. Okay, container. Okay, container name is underscore. Okay, now we try with so this is Okay, I think that worked, but now it's giving file system as 3. So this error is okay. So file system scheme as 3. So in my Spark processing, so here I'm using S3 colon slash. So unsupported. So maybe the version of the AWS SDK bundle. So these two jars they are saying. Okay. But Hadoop we are not using, so we don't need this. Spark Summit they are saying. Okay. Access key, secret key, I don't need to pass this S3 Amazon AWS. I change this one endpoint. This jar is missing. Okay, this jar is there. AWS Java SDK bundle 1.11. Okay, 375. Okay, this command I'm using in my. So this one I'm not using. No, it's the same error. So this Okay, so my bucket is this West 2, this West 2, this West 2. Oh, it's 3A. Cannot do BI here. Okay. Now I think it's a little bit going fine. Now it's credential provider. Okay. So some are missing or what? This is correct. This is correct. 3.2. Dots are there.
I see a null pointer in the top. So
Where is the null pointer?
if you scroll up little somewhere, I see the null pointer exception somewhere.
Ah, yeah, null pointer is coming, but where it is raising this? Abhi just now it's coming.
Some library for your platform.
I'm using.
I have no name. What is that error? I have no name of 46F4B.
Where no name?
In the above line, I see a error. I have no name. If you scroll down in the last line of
Ah, where no name?
last thing, if you see the bottom line of it, I have no name. Exclamation at the rate something. It's missing.
No, you are saying here where which?
Yeah, if you scroll a little down, and
Uh,
no, the line next to it, whatever the line is selected, it says something is missing.
okay. Oh, no name. This one. No. This is a container name. Okay, this is a this is no. This is not the error, right? Okay, that is not error. Okay, right now it's running, right? Only okay. I think I removed something. This endpoint is needed. So endpoint is needed. Why two times is there? Oh, something is the problem. Okay. So in this one, endpoint is this. This is same property, right? Two times. Oh, I think this is the problem. Command got messed up. So S3 endpoint two times. Okay. Yes, TK. Okay, jar is already. So I think it is taking through package, not the jar. Okay, I have given with the package. Then what is saying? The other one I use. Some jar is missing only because otherwise this exception coming.
Is that jar present in that library?
In the jar folder is there. No,
Okay.
there are two ways now. One is minus package we use, or one is using the
Existing one in the folder.
folder, right? So no, I think this is because of some other way. Uh, this class,
The Amazon class is missing somewhere. It's calling that Amazon class somewhere.
Amazon class, but which library it is? Which library? So which library this class? Same error, na Amazon client exceptions. It's the same. This jar is there. Java SDK bundle. Bundle is a different jar. The version 1.11.375. One. So this is bundle is different. AWS Java SDK bundle. SDK bundle, right? Bundle is different. Let me download this. Okay, or Maven package I can use. The same, only the bundle is there. This bundle jar only, I think, download. Well, so one more jar I add. Plus, I think maybe two versions are there. That could be. Let's see what is this error. Indentation, I think. Okay, what is the error? Line number 30, indentation. Okay, I think.
Can you set line number here? Let's see which line that is. No, you can put number there. Okay.
Okay, I'm checking in the PyCharm. I put it this and
Yeah.
it will validate. Because here indentation of get or create is correct. I think maybe down of that. Okay, something here. Oh, Spark. Okay, that is a space. Okay, so this is the code. Okay, yeah. Hmm. Okay. So many errors. Okay, errors. But the Spark code is executing, but here some Spark class, no class definition. My Spark is not there. Oh, yeah, Spark SQL. But through jar it is not taking. Without jar, we try. Using 2.8.1 for Kafka, jar, bundle. I think something issue with two jars are there. Maybe it's Kafka clients 2.8.1. This is already there. Okay, I will check it this one. Okay, so I'll update the code and I'll give it.
Thanks,
Yeah.
Arvind.